17 when you're in qualifiers at the Breeders' Cup coming up this weekend. Who's going to make it and who's out? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard here. Breeders' Cup Weekly, episode 5, and I have a special guest tonight, Jessica. How are you, Jessica?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing well. We have so much to cover that we'll just jump right in because there are 17 when you're in races coming this weekend at, I believe, 4 or 5 tracks, all in the U.S. Up until this point, we've had a ton of overseas races, and now we are getting into the mostly in America. Keeneland starting up has a ton of them. We'll jump right in here. So let's take a look. First off, let's get into who's latest qualifiers here. We had the next 3 slides here will actually be all who just made it. The Vosburg Cody's Wish, and that is in the sprint division. Sorry. Highfield Princess made it through the turf sprint division. Blue Rose Sen, the Irish horse, made it out of the filly and mare turf. Ace Impact in the turf division, which we'll get to how these fields are starting to fill out. But a lot of these classes are now completely done with their when you're in races. And there's obviously a few more coming up, mainly the juveniles that have not finished. Have you seen any of these races yet, Jessica? Any of these qualifiers so far where any horses have caught your eye as far as like, wow, that's one to watch in the Breeders' Cup? Because
I mean, Ace Impact, if he came, would be worth watching,
yes.
But I highly doubt that they're going to ship across for the Breeders' Cup off the ARC win with him. I mean, even Cody's Wish didn't really have quite the punch you kind of expected him to against the field. Maybe the distance was still a little short for him. I kind of think, the mile makes more sense for him than the sprint. But even he really wasn't as brilliant as he's been in the past.
Yeah, and and we'll get to this later. But when we look at these fields, how they've kind of developed, I don't really see anything that anybody standing off the paper on any of these, which is going to make it more interesting and probably better betting races. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, they should be competitive.
Exactly. Opera Singer made it through in the juvenile fillies turf. Rosalian in the juvenile turf. Slow Down Andy in the classic, which was, we just talked a little bit before we started recording this. Slow Down Andy has been a Jekyll and Hyde his whole career. He puts down a great effort and then comes back with, something to make you doubt him, and then he shows up again, and here he is. He will be in the Breeders' Cup Classic if he chooses to, which I assume he will. I think he's a 5-year-old at this point. And Ghost Rider, juvenile turf. And lastly, a couple more qualifiers in here. Zozos in the dirt mile, which we just watched a replay of that again for the ACAC Stakes. I don't know. Again, like nobody blowing your mind about, oh, this is a horse I have to bet on Breeders' Cup Day. I haven't seen it, especially in the turf races. You can never see it in the turf races, but Carla's Way, juvenile fillies turf, to fill out those last qualifiers since the last time we did an episode here. And here's what the fields look like. So again, juvenile turf sprint, there's only one more to go. And that, if you see these lines in green, mean that they're coming up this coming weekend. Meaning, I think there's actually some starting on Wednesday, October 4th, making up for the Aqueduct races that were canceled last weekend. So between Wednesday, the 4th of October, all the way through Sunday's date, which is the 8th or 9th, whatever it is, there is 17 races, and you'll see those in green here. And any of the other names above are already qualified. And those in the blue-colored cells here in my spreadsheet here are horses that just qualified. The ones we just covered, Carla's Way, Opera Singer, for example. So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot coming up.
Yeah, there's a ton. Like I said, Keeneland, Aqueduct, Santa Anita. I think Gulfstream has 1 or 2. And Churchill? Am I forgetting one? I don't know. But you see all these 3 first classes here will finish out this weekend. You'll have all the when you're in races complete for the juvenile turf sprint, juvenile fillies turf, and juvenile fillies, mostly at Keeneland, folks.
Yeah, tons of great 2-year-old racing coming up this weekend. I
Yes.
think we'll get a really good look at kind of what we can expect there.
Yeah, hoping to see that one horse that pops off the page. Last year it was Cave Rock and Forte for the juveniles. And there was
for this weekend, it certainly looks like the Wine Steward is kind of the one horse who might be that emerging star in the division. We'll see. He's got to get this grade 1 win. There's some decent horses in the Breeders' Futurity with him. But I think that he's 3 for 3 so far. And if he takes this, I think he kind of puts himself at the head of the division, certainly on the East Coast.
Is it safe to say that most of the horses that we're looking forward to seeing the most this weekend are at Keeneland? I think, from my perspective, that's the case. But I'm mostly speaking from the dirt classes. So in the juveniles, I guess you just never know. But what's your opinion on that? Is there a particular track you're focused on? Aqueduct has a ton of them too, and I know the Naira group, Matthew, and everybody's probably looking closely at that. But to me, on paper, and Keeneland looks like the most stacked.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Keeneland races coming up this weekend and look really strong. Look like there'll be races that we'll be able to get a really good feel for what we're looking at. Because like you said, these divisions really feel very wide open, except for possibly, I think the only division where I can think that there's like a standout would be the Filly and Mare Sprint with Echo Zulu.
Yeah,
but other than that.
And there's debate. I mean, I got crucified for having Echo Zulu. I mean, because there's somewhat of a debate on what class some of these horses are going to run. You don't know. We don't know. That's the beauty of it. Especially these, you'll see the same name qualified into two divisions sometimes, and that's normal.
Exactly.
Because they're not only qualifying in, they're also winning money. So they're entering events sometimes not just to get the qualifying piece, but to get the money. So juvenile, for example, all 3 of them are this weekend. One at Aqueduct, one at Keeneland, one at Santa Anita, all on 10-7, which I believe is Saturday.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
And there's a ton of them this weekend, so it's going to be fun to watch. A couple of the Filly and Mare Sprint, like you said, Echo Zulu won the Ballerina. We got a couple, one at Keeneland and Gulfstream. Again, Saturday is going to be crazy, folks. If you're a Breeders' Cup fan, you need to be tuning into these races on Saturday because I think just a quick math, it's about 20 to 30% of the entire Breeders' Cup field is racing on this Saturday. So, or at least out of the when you're in groups. And we know there's a lot more horses that make it into the Breeders' Cup than just these qualifying races, but it's a big percentage are racing this weekend between those 4 or 5 tracks. So Cody's Wish, the Dirt Mile, we're not sure, I guess, undecided on sprint or mile for Cody's Wish. If anybody knows that, put it in the comments. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I haven't heard for sure. Have you, Jessica?
Yeah, I haven't heard for sure, but I would assume they're leaning dirt mile with him to try and repeat there. But I haven't heard anything definitive either.
It looks like an easy win for him and an easy paycheck. That to me, and again, he's coming off a race, wasn't that impressive to me at all this past weekend.
Yeah, you really thought he would kind of blow that field away, and he got the job done, but it wasn't what you really thought he would do against that field he faced.
But Zozo's not exactly a flight line out there either, so I think that's the easier path to a big Breeders' Cup win.
Yeah, I would think so. There are some really good sprinters right now that I'm not sure he wants to face.
Yeah, and then you get into the Filly and Mare Turf division, which we have 8 already qualified. I won't even begin to start investigating that because, like you said earlier on one of the other classes, we don't know who's coming over yet. You know, there's ownership and trainers all across the world that don't necessarily come over to the Breeders' Cup, and then a lot of them do. So you see a lot of the Irish horses, a lot of the Irish trainers, and British and French come over, but a lot of them don't.
It'll be interesting to see what Japan brings.
Yes,
over.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
They've got some interesting ones, like Songline there. If she were to come over, she would be very tough, I think.
Why? I would love to see it. I mean, I love to see all, I love that it's a world event. That's what's so cool about it to me, especially on the turf. You see all these horses from all around the world. And here again, here is the sprint division. Again, there's another qualifier on Saturday, Friday at Keeneland. The Ogden, Cody's Wish, Chosen Braun are qualified in. And the mile is always, to me, the mile is one of the most competitive races. Look at, you got Modern Games, you've got Modern Games won last year, but out of that list, I bet you if I interviewed 20 cappers, you'd probably get 7 different answers, and there's only 7 that have already qualified in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just can't agree on those. But if you can, and last year, our little group of our little circle of Trust the Prophets friends in our chats, we decided on a lot of these, and we hit on a lot of these turf races, and it is, I love it because I mean, you really only have to hit on 1 or 2 of them because they're all so balanced in the odds. They're the best betting races of the whole thing. I think they don't get enough prestige in America, but I think it's going that way. At least the people I know, the more you dive into horse racing, the more you like the turf. I mean, just
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of owners and trainers are kind of starting to wise up to that too.
absolutely, yeah. All right, so Keeneland has a Distaff race this weekend. That'll be another one. I haven't seen the full pre-entry list for the Juddmonte Spinster, but assuming we'll get another one of the big names in there. So,
Idiomatic, Secret Oath, and Nest are all listed as probable for the Spinster.
and Idiomatic was my number 1. I think a lot of people's number 1. Coming off that last race, looked awesome.
Yeah, she's really the now horse, I think, in the division.
But the Distaff is like always so fun to watch. Last year was the best race of the weekend for sure.
Oh yeah,
with Malathot and Clariere and Nest, and there was about 4 or 5 horses that were all taking money, so it was like a 4-1 favorite, which you'd love to see that. And just great even racing, and it came across like I think it was 3 across the line, and you had no clue who won. And that's that's the type of thing you wish would be like the Kentucky Derby gets all the national attention in America, and you just wish that like a race like that would. The Distaff from last year, so much cooler of an event, but I don't know if we'll ever get there. But Breeders' Cup seems to be getting a little more attention from year to year. Who knows? Last slide on these Turf and Classic. These are obviously the 2 big ones. Flightline last year, Rebels Romance last year, and you see the field. They're already done. There's only one more race to qualify into the Turf, and that is at Ascot in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. But the Classic qualifiers are all done with Slow Down Andy making it. And you see Arabian Night, Way to Barrio, Go Rocket Ride. A lot of great big names there. Should be a good. I can't imagine a Classic so wide open in a long time. Last year, Flightline was like a 2-5 favorite, or wherever he was.
Oh no, this is going to be a very wide open race, and of course, I feel like come post time, I think the horse that I like on top is probably going to end up being favored because I'm really heavily leaning toward Arcangelo at this point.
I was going to say Arcangelo, yeah,
but I think he'll be a reasonable favorite, even if he does go off favored.
The thing is about Arcangelo is like he's definitely the best 3-year-old after all the prep season and all summer. Arcangelo proved to be the best 3-year-old of the year, but man, 3-year-olds don't typically fare well in the Classic. And a horse like Way to Barrio, who knows, man? Way to Barrio is another one. Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh
I've seen him look like the best horse on the planet a few times,
and that last race was just otherworldly from him. First time for Dutch Rose, so who knows what we'll see. He's been training up to the race. We haven't seen him since that Whitney. So, and I mean, I've always kind of wondered if he wanted to go 1.25 miles, but he sure handled 1 1/8 miles of the Whitney fine. So,
yeah, exactly. I fully expect. I mean, you're going to be Go Rocket Ride, Arabian Night, also really strong 3-year-olds. Arcangelo, the best 3-year-old. It's going to be a fun one to watch. And like I said, even if Arcangelo might become like a 2-1, 5-2 type favorite, I don't think it's going to get any more obnoxious than that. Where last year, like I said, 2-5 on Flightline. There always seems to be a huge favorite in the Classic, and you don't have that this year.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And here is the ridiculous schedule for the week coming up. If you're a Breeders' Cup fan, here's what you got to look for. Starting again on Wednesday, those are the two Aqueduct races. They were makeup races from last week. What was it? The weather or whatever it was at Aqueduct.
Yeah, they had insane flooding in New York.
Yeah, I saw that now that you mention it. And then you have all over the country, Santa Anita, Keeneland. Keeneland has the majority of these, but Santa Anita, Gulfstream, Keeneland, Churchill, and Aqueduct. You have 17 events this weekend, each of those being the win your ins. So, like you said, mostly a lot of these are the juveniles, which is going to be the first time you see your potential Breeders' Cup juvenile champion and what could be the Kentucky Derby a Triple Crown favorite going into next year, which is always fun. That's what you love to see about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. You get to see a lot of these horses showcased for the first time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, again, 17 qualifiers. There's your tracks. It starts on Wednesday, 10-4, which is only a couple days away. Midweek, you don't see big races in the middle of the week too often. Again, man, I don't even know what to think. This. I feel like, honestly, I'm way behind this year compared to years past because
I feel you.
I feel like I could at least feel good about a winner in a division. But I think that's probably a good sign.
I think so.
I think that means that we have a lot of parity, and I don't know with the turf races. I guess you never feel completely great. Like 2 of the turf races last year, I ended up hitting on because me and Matthew DeSantis went through stuff way too many hours, and we landed on Tuesday, and I can't even name Rebels Romance, a couple of the other ones. They ended up being like 4-1, 6-1 type odds because those fields are so stacked.
Exactly. And if you're right once or twice,
yeah,
you can pay for your day. And if you can be right the whole day, you're absolutely coming out on top.
Yep. And I started the weekend last year with the Forte over Cave Rock Exacta, and it made my whole weekend easy because then I was like playing with house money. I had like a straight Exacta against Cave Rock, and everybody else was on Cave Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, okay, now the rest of my weekend is house money free. So, but then it just kept going up from there. So I have zero expectation of having the same type of year I had last year at the Breeders' Cup, but I don't know. I guess we will have a lot more of a clearer picture after this week.
I think so.
Any particular race you're looking forward to most this weekend?
I'm really looking forward to seeing what the wine steward does in oh golly, which race was that? The Breeders' Futurity that he's in. Like I said, I think he's the leader of the division right now, so I'm really looking forward to him in a non-win in your in race, but one that will probably still have Breeders' Cup implications. The Surfer Girl Stakes out at Santa Anita. I've made no secret on Twitter about how much I love Dreamfire. I do think she dodged a bullet scratching out of that last race where Tamara romped, but she's getting onto the turf as a flame away. She should love it. I think that'll be interesting to see if how her speed does going a mile. And if she wins that race, I think she could end up being pretty dangerous in the juvenile fillies turf.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, first of all, I'm a Keeneland fan. I love Keeneland. So obviously looking forward to that meet kicking off here this weekend, but man, there are 17 races. At least a couple of them are on Wednesday. They're going to be at Aqueduct. They're going to be the only show on Earth on Wednesday that I think the world's going to be paying attention to. I mean, unless you're a big Parks fan or whatever. But the rest, Friday, Saturday, there are a couple, I think, on Thursday too. But Friday and Saturday are going to be fully loaded. Saturday is going to be wild. So good luck keeping up with all those things if you are going to try to track all these. You got 4 or 5 tracks to watch. We will definitely have to recap this next week and see who made it in, because next week is, like I said, this is the 20 to 30% of the whole Breeders' Cup fields will be made this weekend.
It's probably the last time you'll see a lot of these horses before the Breeders' Cup.
Absolutely.
Not many of them are going to be racing, putting in a prep between now and then.
Exactly. For sure the last time you'll see a lot of them, and maybe the first time you'll see some of them too. So it's going to be a, keep your eyes on that. But yeah, I think Keeneland, Keeneland starts Friday, right? Not Thursday.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
I'm pretty sure they don't start until Friday. Normally, once the meet gets going, they'll race on Thursdays too. But I think it starts Friday, and then everything is going to be balls to the walls for the Breeders' Cup Win Your In races. Jessica, thanks for joining. Anything else before we close it out?
Nope. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to seeing how these races play out this weekend.
Good luck, everybody. Drop it in the comments. Whoever you think is the strongest candidate to be a Breeders' Cup champion this year in any division, because like I said, I feel it's pretty wide open. And Jessica, I think you agree.
Absolutely.
Breeders' Cup is the best time of the year, folks. Get fired up. Let's do it. Thanks for joining, Jessica. Peace out.